AI art is in big trouble, and for good reason, okay? This trouble is coming from many directions. We have Getty Images that's suing AI firms. These three individuals, I just know like two of them, Sarah Anderson and I believe Kelly Ortiz. They're suing Midjourney, DeviantArt, and some other AI firms, which yeah, I can't wait to see how those are gonna pan out. And of course, we also ended up getting one of the big players in this entire AI art situation that came out, gave an interview, and a lot of the answers that he gave to some of the most pressing issues, I felt like they were really disconnected. Just really quick, I want to go ahead and just showcase some of these images for you guys. These are really incredible images. As you guys can see, these are absolutely stunning images. Not one flaw in any of these images. So of course we got this one from Getty Images. Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying. It looks like a zombie horde. So of course I went to the AI and I asked the AI to give me a girlfriend, and it gave me this image. And so I decided to name her Sourcist. And now I'm not with her, so now she's my ex-Sourcist. You know what, man? Never mind. What is this joke? And then there's this image as well. I think this is Noob Saibot. I don't know. I don't even know what's going on here, okay? But let's just say that it happened. And then there's this image as well. As you guys can see, it's a painting, but for some reason it's just off like a lot. Can we go ahead and just appreciate the fact that look, and if you guys are mad, here's something that we can all laugh at. Even the AIs can laugh at this, okay? Now you guys already know that like for an artist, it's already difficult to draw hands, right? To properly proportion them and to draw each finger is very difficult, okay? But guess who's also having a hard time configuring and properly proportioning fingers and hands? The AI. Look at this. Hey, look at this. This is a monstrosity. Oh my god. This is absolutely terrible. Look at that. It doesn't even know how many fingers to put in the hand. They have this problem with the feet as well. As you guys can see, it's 2 feet in 1 leg, which, damn, that's pretty scary, yo. All right, so let's go ahead talk about what Getty Images is doing. Getty Images, of course, is suing one of the AI firms, Stability AI, which is the creator of Stable Diffusion. It's suing Stability AI because apparently their AI machine scraps images from the internet. And guess where this AI decided to scrap from? Getty Images. And of course, if you guys know anything about Getty Images, when you guys get into it with Getty Images, you know they're gonna put up a fight. I don't know if you guys know this, but there was this individual, this woman by the name of Carol Highsmith. She ended up filing a $1 billion lawsuit against Getty Images because apparently Getty Images, they took images from this public domain where you can go and use any image that was donated. They took those images and they decided to monetize those images. And of course, a lot of those images that they decided to monetize didn't belong to them. They belonged to Carol Highsmith. They even went as far as to charge her for her own images. She donated them to a public domain, and now Getty Images owned them. And so of course you would think that anybody in the right mind would want to sue for their artwork, which she did. However, she ended up losing that entire case because apparently they no longer belong to you. Now they belong to the public domain. And so Getty Images, they took that and now it belongs to them. So now you have to buy it from them, which is insane. It's crazy to think that that's how it works. But yeah, they won. Getty Images won. So when I go into this, don't think that Getty Images is like some sort of superhero, because they also have a shady past. Now with that being said, you know that if anybody messes with Getty Images, you know they're gonna put up a fight. So what do you think they did when an AI attempted to scrap their images? Now they decided to sue Stability AI. So of course Getty Images ended up talking about how like they have to protect their contributors, which it's not what you think it is. A contributor is not somebody who donates to Getty Images. Instead, that's what they call their base, their user base. Kind of how like YouTube calls its user base creators. That's kind of like the same situation with Getty Images, except it's instead of creators, it's contributors. And apparently it's kind of difficult to be a contributor. You need to submit 5 pieces of art and you have to wait to see if you can get approved to even become a contributor, which is pretty interesting. So of course they're suing because they're protecting their contributors. They want to make sure that their contributors are going to be compensated for all of the images that were scrapped, because apparently this AI relies tremendously on human created images. It requires references, and of course what better way to reference images than to use human created images. We know that it scraps these human created images from these websites because it's embedded in the source code. If you check out its source code, you have the name Getty Images, Vector Stock, DeviantArt, ArtStation. You have all of these names from websites that host a large number of images, according to this article. And of course, there are some AI firms that have declined to share its source codes with the public. And of course, one of those AI firms being OpenAI, absolutely refusing to showcase the source codes, which I'm sure that if you check out its source code, I'm sure you'll find the same names as well. And this entire situation has escalated, which I'm quite excited for, because I really want to see what's going to happen with this entire situation, because there's a lot of questions. Who's going to receive credit? Who deserves the profits? Other questions that I have as well, like, is this even fair use? Because again, like, it's using thousands if not millions of images to create an image, which to me, I kind of always thought that fair use was kind of like this. You have an original idea, right? But in order to empower that idea, you need to use sources, outside sources, which is then fair use. You take all of these intellectual properties, just pieces of them, and then you build upon that original idea. And so the question is, do these AIs, do they create original ideas and build upon it by taking images from other sources? It doesn't really seem like that's the case, because it seems like it's just scrapping all of these images online and just kind of putting them together, using them as references. Because again, this entire AI machine is very complex. Supposedly, like, the way it works is that it takes all of these images, right, and then it filters them through this entire complex network of dimensions. After it goes through all of that, it produces an image based off of what you typed. That's why I'm quite interested to see how this is going to play out in court, because again, like, it requires a lot of experts and a lot of lawyers to really analyze the details, because it's very complex. It's not just like you're just throwing a bunch of images into a machine and then boom, that's it. Like, no, it's doing something else that we just don't know of. Now, this is where I was extremely upset. Do you guys know how I mentioned that this AI machine requires human created images? Well, the thing is that these AI firms have made a concession, and this concession is that if artists want to opt out, they can, from having the AI scrap their images, which to me, it's kind of like, well, we should have been out. We should have been excluded from this from the very beginning, because I'm sure there's going to be artists out there who definitely want to provide their art so then they can have this AI machine work. I don't know why this wasn't a thing before to opt out. This should have been from the very beginning an option, if not even an option, but something that was just a staple when it comes to releasing this AI machine. I do also want to go ahead and kind of talk about the Midjourney interview, which I thought was just, it was kind of disappointing but very interesting at the same time, and also very disconnected coming from one of the co-founders. Really quick, I just want to go ahead and say that as we progress with this article, there's going to be a lot of typos. I don't know for what reason, but there's just a lot of typos, so please just bear with me. Can artists opt out of being included in your data training model? And David Holes, he replied with, we're looking at that. The challenge now is finding out what the rules are and how to figure out if a person is really the artist of a particular work or just putting their name on it. We haven't encountered anyone who wants their name taken out of the data set that we could actually find in the data set. Well, yeah, how are you going to authenticate the artwork? You don't even know where the art is coming from. So how is it that we're going to know where the art is coming from? We don't know how this machine works. We don't know where it's taking its artwork from. I will say though, there are artists that have seen their art being used in these machines, because when you take a look at some of these artworks, they have signatures that belong to certain artists. And some of these artists question, like, why is it that like this AI is attempting to replicate my signature? Now, I do want to go ahead and just kind of highlight this. I think it's a little important for you guys to keep in mind. This is a tweet by Daniel Lesterjet, and he says, as I'm sure many others have commented, this is literally not what's going on here. The AI is trained using human created portraits that included a signature. Once the training is complete, the AI no longer refers to those images. Instead, it creates its own, complete with a signature. It's not stealing from anyone. It's just mimicking human artists. I just want to go ahead and just kind of highlight that, because I want you guys to keep that in mind, because it's like I said earlier, we don't really understand how this machine is producing these images. So perhaps there are images that can tell somebody where these images are coming from or whose art it belongs to, but overall it's still quite a difficult task, because we don't know, again, what this AI machine is doing. I also thought that this was a pretty interesting question here, and the way he responds to it is just kind of like bro, you don't even know that. AI is typically used at scale for stuff like call centers and checking bags at airports, and the sort of jobs that people don't really care about. And the value proposition is that it frees people up to do more rewarding, more interesting kinds of jobs, but art jobs are rewarding and and interesting. People work their entire lives and develop their skills to get these kinds of jobs. Why would you point this technology at that level of the economy as kind of a business focus and priority for the stuff that you're doing? David Hose replies with, my stuff is not made for professional artists. If they like to use it, then that is great. My stuff is made for like people who, there's this woman in Hong Kong and she came to me and goes, the one thing in Hong Kong that your parents never want you to be is an artist. I'm a banker now and I'm living a good banker life. But with Midjourney, now I'm actually starting to get a taste of this experience of being the person I actually want to be. Or a guy at the truck stop who's making his own baseball cards with wild Japanese style just for fun. It's made for those people because like most people, they don't ever get to do these things. What are you talking about, bro? Like, if anything, I don't even see them using this. Yeah, they'll use it just like once or probably like twice and that's it. But like, I feel like artists could potentially use it because the way I was seeing it was that we'll put our own style into this AI machine and then it'll produce an image and then all we have to do is just tweak it. Just mess around with it and see what else we can produce. But a random lady in Hong Kong and like a trucker, I mean, yeah, like they'll probably mess around with it, but I don't think that they've developed the work ethic to even create or to keep it consistent. Unlike an artist, where an artist wants to find new tools so they can create all these art pieces. And of course, David Hose, he ends up finishing up with this. It's important to emphasize that this is not about the art. No, clearly it's not, bro. I can tell that it's not about the art. This is about imagination. Imagination is sometimes used for art, but it's often not. Most of the images created on Midjourney aren't being used professionally. They aren't even being shared. They're just being used for these other purposes, these very human needs. Like, what? Dude, like maybe he has stats that I haven't seen or something like that, but I just can't imagine that. The thing that I imagine is that this tool is going to be used for artists to use rather than having to rely on like the blank paper. Because as you guys know, as artists know, when you guys look at a blank paper, you just kind of have to see that dread of blankness and you have to kind of just think to yourself like, what do I draw now? But now with this tool, it could just kind of do that for you. You don't have to actually sit there and try to think on a blank page. It'll automatically just give you ideas, which, dude, I love that. I'm all for that. But I don't know what these AIs, I don't know what this entire AI firm is trying to do. All I know is that, yeah, you didn't consider the artist at all because obviously you ended up taking and scrapping all these images without attempting to properly credit them. And I don't know. Yeah, I can tell that that's probably very difficult to do, but you should have just gone out at least thinking about the artist. Perhaps something that they could have done differently was just upload this AI and just have artists just kind of feed their own art into this machine. And then of course they create a style out of it. I think that would have been probably a better route, but of course I'm not the one who's marketing any of this stuff, so I don't even know if that would have been a good idea anyways. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys, and yeah, hopefully you guys learned something today.